Welcome back to Coffee and Conversation. So for all you Audie fans, he is sleeping on his chair. He has taken possession of that one chair. The two of them are identical, but he knows which one is his. He's keeping it. The cat food wars are going, well, about as well as can be expected. Audie is not particularly pleased with the cat food I'm giving him because I'm experimenting and trying different foods. And he has the ones he likes, and he doesn't want to try the new ones. And we need him to try the new ones so I can get a good assortment. Mostly because he gets tired of everything. So if I don't rotate frequently, he hates it all. So he's going to have to start being a little more cooperative about trying the new foods. But he's a cat. Cooperation is not in his nature. So we'll see how I make out. But this is about as well as I have any right to expect things to work out. And I will keep you all posted because unfortunately my little guy's tummy is, well, it's not as hardy as it used to be. So if I don't get him easy to digest food, he's just going to get sick. And I'd rather that didn't happen. I mean, there are so many reasons that's bad, not the least of which is that's got to be really hard on his system to be, gobbling down food and then yakking it up 30 seconds later. So I'd rather things were a little more calm for him. I'd also very much rather not having all that mess to clean up. So he's over here, he's snoozing, but lately he has been getting up once he realizes I'm filming. So maybe he will this time. Okay, we are going to take a very quick break for the intro. We'll be right back. So, I have been shopping, and I actually took film of some of the shopping, which I'm going to share with you, but I did want to talk about some of the things, mostly because I want to share the bargains. I've gotten into dialogues in the comments with people about various things that I've been buying, and a lot of people have a concern about wool clothing, and I don't. I am very, very comfortable with wool, and I mean that in the physical sense. I don't get itchy from wool or anything like this, although frankly, years ago I did. But the wool that's on the market now is treated, and it's merino wool. Merino wool has been around for a while. It's bred in the Antipodes. Australian and New Zealand sheep are bred for this. And quite frankly, in the 1950s and the 1960s, imports from the Antipodes were ghastly expensive. Not because the products themselves were expensive, but the transport was expensive. And because of that, we didn't see the high quality wool that was associated with Australia and New Zealand. We knew it was out there, but we weren't getting it. We are now. So, hallelujah. Oh, we've got company. Well, come up if you want. Okay. Yep. Do you want to say hi? Here, come here. Let me just turn you around. Say hi. I think he's still half asleep, but he definitely wanted to make an appearance. Okay. All right, I got you. So, we have some Audie time after all. Anyway, merino wool is soft, and I find it not just soft and durable, but I find it to be a reasonable competitor for cashmere. And cashmere, of course, had been around in the mid-century, but it was very expensive. It's not that expensive anymore. We are, well, clothing prices have gone down so much in the past 50 years. And in fact, if you look back over 100 years, there's no comparison. People would spend up to like 20% of their income on clothing. Now it's somewhere in the range of 3%. And we have a lot more in terms of clothing. Now, you will hear people say this, and I come across this all the time in my research on this. But people will say, oh no, we really don't have that much more clothing. They just had different clothing. No, we have more clothing. There's no two ways around it. I probably shouldn't say this, but I would not be a bit surprised if I had exclusive of underwear and socks, because I don't throw them in the clothing. Oh, and scarves. I don't throw them in my clothing category. I probably have somewhat in excess of maybe 100 items of clothing. And I am a borderline minimalist. Most people have much more. In fact, I believe the last figure I saw was 270 some odd pieces for the average woman. Now, what that should be telling us is we are getting better quality goods at lower prices, and I say enjoy it. So I did want to show you, I was going to try to get him off so I could show you the sweater I'm wearing, but yes. All right, excuse me a moment. I need to deal with the cat, and then I will show you the sweater. So, now that Audie has been dealt with, he's actually outside. I offered him food, but he didn't want it, because again, cat food wars. But I can at least show you the sweater. And I got this sweater last week. And the manufacturer calls it dark red. I would say the color is actually black cherry. It's red, but if you look closely, you can see the black yarns in it. Again, as I mentioned, 100% merino wool, $43. So, why am I telling you this? Because on average, when I get a wool shirt, I am paying around an average price of about $40. Now, if I break that down a little further and say a short sleeve wool shirt, it's around $30. So this one at $43 is right around target for a wool shirt in general, but high for, a short sleeved wool shirt. It's pretty much the way it is. But I do bargain shop them, and that's part of what I wanted to share with you, because I am getting better prices than most people are getting for good quality stuff, because I will put the time and effort into getting the best deal. Remember, my bargain hunting mother is on my shoulder saying, don't you dare buy that until you make sure you got the best possible price. So I was satisfied with this as a purchase. I think part of the reason I may be getting some slightly better prices this time of year on short-sleeved wool sweaters is because it's this time of year. We are out of summer, we are well into fall, approaching winter. And that's when you can get good bargains on clothes that people consider summer clothes. In this case, it's the short sleeves. It's probably not the wool. But I did want to share that with you. And, the scarf, Oscar de la Renta. It's not the best match for this particular top, but it's one that I haven't worn in a while, and I thought, I'll show you this one, mostly because I want you to have a chance to see what's in the scarf box, because it would be nice if those scarves saw the light of day every once in a while, instead of just sitting in the closet. But that's not all I ended up buying. So, I thought I would just take you along with me for my shopping adventure because I bought a handbag. Now, I didn't need it, but I bought it. And again, it was a very good deal. That's how I justify all my shopping. It's like, is this a good price? Oh, well then great, I can buy it. But keep in mind too, at this point, I'm probably buying things I don't really need and probably shouldn't be buying. But every now and then, especially if you can keep things in check in terms of the amount of money you're spending, it doesn't hurt to go out and treat yourself to a little something every now and then. So, come along with me on my handbag hunting adventure. So we are at TJ Maxx. I was in here earlier today and I saw a number of bags. Let me back up so you can see the whole thing. And gee, I like them a lot. I don't need them. I'm not even sure I would use them. But as I look at them and think to myself, oh, so pretty. Here. This is a sort of, I don't know, plum brown. In this light, it looks very brown. But if you step back, it's actually more of a dark plum color. I don't need it, but I like it. We've got a whole range here in that maroon burgundy color. So, yeah, I'm not going to get a maroon or burgundy bag because I already have one and I don't use it very often. But, yum. I like this one too. It's like $130. It is actually a very rich brown, but it's showing up on the camera as a sort of, I don't know, almost like an olive color. It's not what it looks like in person, but still, I like it. All right, we're gonna keep looking. Now, this is another pretty suede bag. Again, I don't think the camera is picking it up. It's actually a very rich chocolate brown, and it's looking a little washed out on the film. Again, don't need it, but I like it. Although I'm sure you can tell, I seem to be drawn to these suede bags. Very nice. This one, right here, I like that too. Like I say, drawn to the suede ones. And in reality, that is like a Crayola crayon brown. It's just showing up differently on the camera. $130, I do like it. We are going to keep looking. Ooh, look at this one. And it's not suede. Surprise me. That's more of a reddish brown, more of what I might call an ox blood. Again, camera's not picking it up well. I do not need that, but I do like it. I like this one. We took a look at a bag like this in burgundy earlier, and this one is in a nice sort of, I would say it's a dark forest green. Looks a little light on the camera. $30. I do not need that, but I like it. And I want it. I should probably get out of this store before I buy everything in sight. The truth is, I don't need a bag. Also, the truth is, I like that bag and I want it. So, why am I even here? I do not need a bag. But yeah, I want it. So, the bag is in my cart. For $30, why not? And we are about to check out. So, catch you later. So, Here is the handbag. Did I really need a large green handbag? No, actually I didn't. I have another green bag. It's larger than this. That is real suede. This is not real suede. This is just pretend suede. But for $30, oh, if you know where to get real suede for $30, leave a comment because I would love to shop where you're shopping. But it was inexpensive, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to get plenty of use out of it because the other green suede bag I have is large enough to be used as an overnight bag. It really is big. It's lovely, and I like the fact that it's big, but this one, even though it's big, is a little more manageable. So, while I was there, I happened to pick up something else too. So, oh, and while we are taking a look at this, I ran into one of our viewers at the store. So I'm going to throw in a quick little shot of her too. So this is the perfume display. And I was in here earlier and got a bottle of Burberry blush. It was, I think, $70 some with the tax. Under $75. I will look up the last bottle of Burberry I got, which was only a couple of months ago. It was a different fragrance, same company, but it was a lot more than $70 some. So I am looking at this stuff with lust and longing, but as I say, I did get a bottle of perfume already. I don't need two. The fact is, I didn't even need one, but it was there. In fact, it was right here in this little empty spot. So I got it. It's mine. We'll take a look at it later. So, TJ Maxx ran into one of our viewers. Let everybody know who you are.
I'm Lisa.
Okay, this is Lisa, and we have gotten into a little conversation. I am getting a box, because you know me and boxes. And Lisa and I were just having a little bit of a chat. I thought I would share this with everyone. All right. Okay, so this is the perfume I got, and this is Burberry Blush. I like the Burberry fragrances. I didn't need it. I got it mostly because it was a good price. This was the last bottle of Burberry I got. And I got this at Sephora, so you got to know I paid full retail on this. And this is Burberry Black, another one of the Burberry fragrances, and I like them all. But this was $220 with tax, etc. This one was $74 and change. To be fair, this one is almost twice the size of this. This is like 50 milliliters. This is 90. So yes, there should be a price difference, but still, this was the better buy. And I definitely don't need to get any more perfume. But I do have to say, I was glad to find, because I've been in TJ Maxx, I don't know how many times, but I never really went over to their cosmetics, jewelry. It's not the sort of thing that I go into a discount store like TJ Maxx for. I just don't. It never occurred to me that they would have name brand perfumes there. And I guess I was just being a little snobby about it. But now that I know, I've got to avoid that place like the plague. Because, in fact, I do end up buying things on impulse there. And I shouldn't do that. But, again, it doesn't hurt to treat ourselves every once in a while. And I have to get over that feeling guilty every time I buy something. Because I do. It doesn't stop me from buying it, but then I end up coping with the guilt later. And it's not like, I'm spending a fabulous fortune. The last time I was at TJ Maxx, I spent $100, walked out of there with a handbag I know I'm going to be able to use, a perfume I know I like, and having met one of our viewers. So, win, win, win. The problem is, the last time I left Sephora, it was with a bottle of $200 perfume that I really didn't need. So I need to be careful about where I am going to do my shopping. There's a big difference between shopping at Saks Fifth Avenue and shopping at the dollar store. And I am the kind of person that can have difficulty walking out of a store empty-handed. Knowing that about myself, I need to be going into the dollar store, because coming home with $5 worth of nonsense I don't want and don't need is a lot better than going into Saks and coming home with $500 worth of stuff I don't want and don't need. And I really do at some point need to look at why I am shopping, what drives me to it, what motivates me to shop, even when I don't happen to need things, because I definitely do that. I don't know. Am I bored? Am I just acquisitive? Do I feel deprived? I don't know, but I've got to work that out. Anyway, I did think that it opened up the idea of discussing some of this, because this isn't just about, oh, I went shopping, I brought you with me. No, it's more global than that. Shopping has always been a rather social event for me. And for most people my age, I think it was because when we were young adults, when we were in our 20s and 30s, and this would have been the 70s and 80s, mall culture was peaking. Well, it was peaking in the 80s. That's when but it was taking off in the 70s. And going to the mall to do some shopping was fun. It was an afternoon out. It was an opportunity to see what was out there. What are the new styles? Look at things. Oh, the malls were great for window shopping. And there were times when I would go to the mall. I know you're going to have trouble believing this. I'm having trouble believing it myself. There were times when I would go to the mall and I wouldn't buy anything. I would just enjoy the environment, because the malls were bright and flashing lights and pretty clothes and the awful music playing in the background. But it was a fun, lively place to spend an afternoon. And I think a lot of us looked at it that way. Now, malls are dying. Malls are laying idle. And there are people talking about taking malls and turning them into apartment complexes, which, by the way, I think is a very good thing. I think it's infinitely preferable to leaving them derelict as like scars on the landscape. But it does serve to remind me that this very large part of our young womanhood is no more. It's something that has just fallen by the wayside. So that does make me a little sad, a little nostalgic. But I do think that, at least in my case, for me, shopping filled some kind of, social need. The need to get out, to be among people, to go somewhere lively and interesting, to stop and get a snack or a cup of coffee or whatever on the way. Most of the malls, you could have lunch at their little food courts. Some of them even had nice sit-down restaurants. Well, not the most elegant sit-down restaurants, but they would have places like TGI Fridays or Applebee's right in the mall. which I guess is not the most elegant of restaurants, but still, sit-down restaurants, places where you could go, you could meet up with your friends, you could have a meal, have a chat, whatever. So it was a different climate. And I think maybe part of my fondness for shopping is nostalgia, that I'm remembering a different time. And when I think about what I remember about shopping, it's not even the malls of the 80s. My memories go back a lot further than that, because I remember going into town as a child to the big stores, and that was exciting. Going into the city, big stores, that's a very big deal when you're 7, 8, 9 years old. And I think I have always associated shopping with like a fun adventure, a nice afternoon out. I would imagine a lot of people from my generation were looking at an afternoon at the zoo or the aquarium the way I was looking at an afternoon of shopping. But it was at that level for me, even as a small child. It was just an outing more than a shopping trip. And I think that's still with me to some extent. Comments, let me know. How do you feel about it? What are your shopping memories? But again, this is about sharing some stuff. So let's go back to this. $43. Let me give you a little bit of advice on buying wool. Yes, unsolicited advice. Yeah, that's what you come to this channel for, right? When I start buying wool tops and short sleeved, long sleeved, any kind of shirt, I look at certain price points, and there are certain price points that I will rarely exceed. If it is just a shirt, a t-shirt, a Henley, long sleeve, short sleeve, I don't care, just a casual shirt. For a long sleeve piece, I will rarely, very rarely, go over like $50, because I can get excellent shirts for that under $50 price point. When I go over $50, it's usually because it is a much heavier weight wool, and I'm probably buying it largely for winter warmth. I will look at something and say, well, that is attractive, but more importantly, it is warm. Therefore, I will pay, an additional $10 for it, simply because it will be serviceable in the winter. And so it's a practical consideration. If it is a short sleeve shirt, I will rarely go above $40. This one was an exception, $43, but hey, black cherry. I made that decision based on the color. I find that when I shop for wool shirts, tops, sweaters, whatever, I am facing a limited color selection. So when you're looking at wool, by the way, same thing when I'm looking at silk. You find black, white, gray, and occasionally another color. For me, that other color tends to be red, burgundy, maroon, something in that reddish range. I don't know why. Am I finding them in blue? No, not even navy blue. That's a hard locate for me. So when I do see something in an interesting shade of red, because it's not black or white, I'm grabbing it. And I don't do gray, so that limits me even further. But I would have to say black, white, gray, they're all colors on the same continuum. So I will occasionally sort of tweak my top level price point if it's a nice color. In general, you can get whatever you want in terms of a wool t-shirt for under $50. Meaning, if you're buying wool t-shirts for over $50, you're probably overpaying. Just saying. And I'm not saying it's wrong to overpay. What I am saying is there are people out there who are selling what is virtually the same product. They're coming from the same manufacturers. And by the way, I check the manufacturer's markings on these pieces. I check the tags, and that's why I say it's virtually the same piece, because they're all coming from the same manufacturer. And depending on where you buy them, you can easily end up paying, well, $80, $100 or more. So just be cautious when you do it. And I think, at least for me, it has been very helpful to set my top price point. If I want a wool shirt and it is long sleeved, and even if it is very heavy and sweater-like for the winter, I'm not going over $60, $65. That's my top. In general, I want to keep it below the $50 price range. That's what I look for. With a short sleeve piece, I want to keep it below the $40 price range. And this is not pie in the sky. This is stuff that I have gotten wool t-shirts for as little as $16.50. That was my biggest bargain. But if it's a t-shirt, I'll buy it out of the men's line, because very often men's t-shirt prices are much lower than women's t-shirt prices. And by the way, this applies to silk as well. I have gotten silk t-shirts, and this is from men's lines. So these are sold for men. I have gotten them, generally speaking, in the $25 to $30 range. $30 for long sleeve, $25 for short sleeve. And if I were to buy the same silk t-shirt in a women's line, it probably would have been a good $10, $15 more. So those short sleeve shirts would have been $40, maybe $45. The long sleeve shirts would have been $45 to $50. But it all depends on what you're willing and able, and I have to throw this in, and able to do. A lot of women, especially women who are amply endowed, are probably not going to be able to get away with buying a man's t-shirt. Yeah, if you get that extra, extra large man size, it will cover your business up top. But then you're stuck shoving all that extra fabric into your skirt, your trousers, or it's just hanging there like a tent. And yeah, so I understand that women who are more gifted in that department than I am are not as easily able to go over to men's clothing. But if you can, you should definitely consider it, because there is no practical difference between a man's t-shirt and a women's t-shirt other than that sculpting at the waistline. And in some cases, especially things like wool and silk, where they are knit fabrics, so they have stretch where you need it, and they will compact where you don't need it. So very often you can get away with this. But that is my biggest secret to getting good deals. Also, I do tend to look beyond the seller and look to the manufacturer, because one seller can carry products from the same manufacturer, as I was just saying, and they can charge twice what another seller will charge for it, maybe more. So that is how I can end up doing it. If I were not able to get good deals on the stuff I buy, I would have so much more guilt about buying it. I got a lot of guilt anyway, but it's not the massive amounts of guilt I would have if I were paying the outrageous prices some people are charging for this. I would also say that when you start looking at things like, merino wool, here's the time when you can start looking with some degree of confidence, to China, because China imports merino wool from Australia and New Zealand at lower prices than we can. Why? Because they are closer. And then they can take that wool and fashion it into garments that they can sell for less than you would pay if you went through a US manufacturer or a European manufacturer. Probably not the same kinds of prices you would find if you could actually find someone from Australia who is making wool garments and selling them. I have not been successfully able to do that yet. And I have been looking because I have this notion that if I can just find a really good Australian seller of merino wool items, and by really good, I mean, reliable, someone who is going to produce high quality garments, I could probably get everything I want for comparable prices to, what I would be paying for other kinds of wool that are simply easier to get in the US just because of the shipping. One of these days, I am going to have to go on a trip to Australia and New Zealand and Tasmania, and do Tasmania while I'm there, and get some actual Antipodes merino wool stuff. It would be a shopping trip. I would go with empty suitcases and come back with full suitcases. But the problem with that is I watch the Australian Border Patrol shows, and I'm quite certain I would be arrested on the spot, probably never released again, and my only satisfaction is that Grant Bowler would narrate my story for the world, because I am a huge Grant Bowler fan. And I wonder, if I got arrested, I wonder if I could ask that Grant Bowler narrate my portion of these Border Patrol crime stories in his American accent, because it's good. So that's my whole Australia wool, Grant Bowler, Border Patrol, terrified story. But it would be nice to be able to do that, to be able to just go somewhere and shop, bring it back home. So, I don't know, I guess that's going to have to go on my bucket list. But in the meanwhile, I hope this has been a little useful just in terms of setting some guidelines for the prices that you want to pay for things. And I've given you the wool. I'll save things like silk or linen for other videos, because I do have price points that I won't exceed for either of those. And so far, it keeps my spending in check. All right, we are going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out. I got to go see what my bad cat is up to, because the daylight sensors on my porch light have just gone off, which is telling me that it may be getting a little too dark for my bad boy to be out there unsupervised. So thanks for being with us. I hope to see you all again next time. And in the meanwhile, have a terrific day.